want to welcome Linda here tonight. Linda, thanks for joining me. I've known you for, I don't know, maybe, how long, 10 years? 12 years?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I've known you and your second husband, Jerry. Is that correct to say?
Oh, yeah. My late husband.
Your late second husband.
Yeah.
And his name was Jerry, and he was a wonderful man in the time that I knew him, which wasn't that long. But let's go back to, I guess, wherever you want to start, the beginning. I would love it if you would share with our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do, a little bit, maybe about your family, if you'd like to share a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, I'm fortunate because I have 2 adult sons.
Yes.
And I have 3 grandchildren.
Ah.
I just absolutely adore.
Can you tell me their, because I'm really into this, can you tell me their names and how old they are?
Oliver's 11. Paul
Okay.
is 7.
Okay.
And Annabella is 5.
Aha. So you got 2 boys and a little granddaughter.
Yes.
What, I just got to ask you this question. What is the best part about having grandchildren?
Oh, just, watching them grow and seeing how they respond to you, because you're a special person to them. And I always think that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
That they look at you and it's like, oh, bye, Grandma, bye. Come and give you a big hug.
Yeah.
And then they leave. It's just cute when you see how they grow.
Yeah.
From just babies, infants, into toddlers, and then from then on. And
Yeah. So I'm curious about your journey, Linda, and I'm wondering if you could tell me sort of how it's evolved.
Well, as a young child, I was in a family where we had a Catholic mother and a Protestant father.
Okay.
So that was not a good thing.
Okay, how come?
Because neither of them were accepted into their churches. My father was an elder, and he was told to leave the church because he was marrying a Catholic.
Oh, wow.
And because in my mum's Catholic faith, she was then not marrying a Catholic, so therefore she couldn't go to church.
Okay.
So it was kind of different, but I always understood that they never fought over anything about religion or whatever. And my mum actually would take me to church because she would drop me off and come home. And then she'd come back and pick me up. So it was things like that were a little bit different. It's not the norm.
Different, yes, but yet, I've talked to people who have gone through things and have actually, they feel they've been judged for things that for a lot of times, they've had no control over, and they've been judged by the church. And a lot of people have left the church because of that judgment. And I think that's not what I'm about anyway. And I don't think that's what you're about. And so I think that even in today's day and age, we have a lot of people that are walking in feeling a lot of judgment and therefore walk out. Yeah. And I would just like to say that if that's your experience, that's not what I'm about as a Christ follower. There's so many of us that we don't live our life like that. There's so many churches, and even here in the city of Winnipeg, that are not like that.
Absolutely.
That will embrace you and take you on the journey where you're at.
Exactly.
So I appreciate you sharing that. Just wanted to add that.
And then it was, as an adult, I was 20 years old, and my brother had been in Canada for at least 15 years. We have this age gap in our family.
Okay.
And what happened was he had been in Winnipeg, and I wanted to go see him. And they said, well, yeah, why not come? And I thought, great, I'm going to Winnipeg. So
where were you at that time?
I was in Glasgow in Scotland, because that's where I was raised.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so I came, and I was excited to come. I had a job, and I worked for a year. I did find I got really homesick at times, and I thought, I have to go home. So I did. I went home.
How old are you now at this point?
At this point?
Yeah.
I was 21.
Okay.
So I was quite young, in the sense that I felt I was on my own, although I did have my brother and sister-in-law and their family. Yeah. But I missed home. I missed my friends and everything. So I chose to go home, and within a month I was back. So I guess I made my decision that I was coming back here to live.
Yeah. What'd you like about Winnipeg?
I liked, there was a lot of freedom here to do lots of things. You could, if you want to do sports, do sports, if you wanted to do, you know, in a reading club and things like that. It was just amazing that there seemed to be so much more to do.
Interesting. Yeah. So all you Winnipeg haters, it's a really good city. It really is. I think a lot of people don't give us enough credit. I know it's cold,
Absolutely.
but we
Yes.
have great people here and a lot of things to do because of the seasons, right?
Yeah. It was a busy place to be, and I thought, I think, you know, I'd rather stay here. So I came back, and I guess it was a few years later, I met my first husband, and he was originally from Glasgow in Scotland as well.
Okay. Okay. How did you meet?
Well, his parents were here, and as I said, my brother was here, and actually my brother and him played on the same soccer team.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
everybody who came over, they all played soccer. Of
Yeah.
course. So,
Of course. Of course. Yeah.
yeah.
So you met him, and what happened? You were.
Well, you know, I was so comfortable with him, and I think part of it was his Scottish ancestry, his history, in the sense that he understood me, understood when we talked about things. There was that
Yeah.
commonality there that made you feel there was a comfort.
Right.
And that in itself was just really good. I just couldn't get that. And, you know, and after, I guess a year and a half, we got married.
Yeah.
So, and I had two boys, like one boy and then had another boy.
Right.
And just happy to have them. They were wonderful.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I felt so blessed to have them. I've always have. Although I found that as time was going on through this, you know, having children, and I was the only one that could handle my youngest son. He was a severe asthmatic, so it was really difficult. So there was no babysitter to come and help, you know, give me a break or anything. Nobody could take him.
Yeah.
Like even my brother and his wife, they just couldn't take. He would just scream when I wasn't there.
Oh,
So I remember even at that time thinking, okay, Lord, you've given me this baby, and he's mine. So I must be the one that has to take care of him, because you wouldn't have given him to me if I can't.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why nobody else can handle him. So at that time, I would just draw on strength to say, I need strength to get through this, because it was a lot of work. And he was sick all the time, and he was in the hospital twice a year. So it was an ongoing issue.
How'd you find the strength to do that? Because I'm sure there's moms watching that are maybe going through something similar. How did you find the strength to, you know, navigate your way through that season?
I just felt that, you know, if he's mine, I must be able to manage him. I have to. I knew he was a gift from God. I always knew that. So I felt that he can't give me this gift and not give me the ability to look after him or care for him or find some way to manage life with him.
Right.
And he was on medications from, say, 18, 20 months for asthma. And so often, you know, it would be, you know, 2 and 3 in the morning. Okay, going to the hospital, off we go. You know, so that was an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about your marriage and your journey.
Well, you know, it's at first, of course, you know, you're always that madly in love, and I was really, truly felt I was in love with him. But there was always this underlying something, and I never understood what it was. But once we had kids, you know, then he would be upset about something, and then he would yell at you, or then he would storm out the house, and those kind of things. And I was just kind of like feeling, I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do? And, you know, it kept going on. And then eventually it really did get to a point where I just said to myself, I have to do something here. I can't survive in this. Right. And, you know, he became physically abusive. And I realized that I need to be safe. I'm not safe here. And then, of course, I was concerned about the boys because, number one, I didn't want them growing up in that environment. And number two is I was concerned perhaps for their safety when I wasn't there.
Right.
So it was holding me there, but it was also saying to myself, I'm going to have to make a decision, and I know I'm going to have to deal with this. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to survive. At that time, I was not working. I was home and I couldn't work with Andrew. So that sort of made me more tied to being home.
Yes.
And I had a part-time job, and I thought, well, I need to do something. So I decided that I would go back to work, and I went back to work, and I worked 2 days a week. So that was me building some confidence that, okay, I'm going to be able to do this. And I knew it, and then in between, you know, we would have some great times and wonderful, and then all of a sudden things would go wrong, and I would just feel like, I can't live in this anymore. And yet how am I supposed to live in this? Yeah. And I knew that it wasn't the right thing to do.
How long did this go on?
Well, so my boys would have been Andrew was just in kindergarten when I left. So, and the older one was 3.5 years older. So they were still young, but I think for me, the bottom line for me was, are they going to become like him? There was something about that scared me. Mm-hmm. Because how could I be involved in that?
Right.
Like, that was not my heart. My heart was not saying, it's okay, you know, eventually, you know, he'll get help and it'll work out and it'll all be okay.
Right. Was he getting help?
No. He would say he was, to a degree, but he really wasn't doing anything. Yeah. It wasn't going to change. And, you know, and I remember even later people saying, well, why did you stay? And my whole thought was, the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't know. Mm-hmm. And to me that meant, when I was with him and he was in the house and, you know, we were together, I knew what was going on.
Right.
But if I leave, it could be really bad.
Right. With your kids, you mean?
Well, with the kids and for me, you know, would he come after my life? Mm. Yes, there was a possibility that he could do that. So I had to say to myself, I can't live with that fear. Right. The fear is what's holding me and keeping me here, and that was not okay.
Do your boys have a relationship with their father now?
No, they don't.
They don't.
They don't. No, he's disappeared. So.
Yeah. Okay. Do you ever talk to them? Like, do they ever give you feedback on those years? Yeah,
and my oldest son did his education degree and did his master's, and his master's was on relationships of single mothers in the schools. Oh, okay. And part of it was about how he grew up. Mm. So yes, you know, we've talked about it and over the years, and they're both wonderful men, and I'm thrilled that is who they are, and that they were protected through that whole process. Yeah. They knew they were loved. I'm so thankful for that. Yeah. I really, truly am. Yeah. I'm not sure where I would have been if things had been differently. Mm. I don't even want to think about it because I think it wouldn't be nice.
Interesting. So then you come to a place where you're raising them on your own. Mm-hmm. And I know you with Jerry. So can you tell me a little bit how you and Jerry met and a little bit about that story?
Well, a number of years later, and I had been on my own for quite a number of years, and I was part of a group called Beginning Experience at that time, and that group was support group for people who were separated, divorced, or widowed. Okay. So I was involved in that group, and then through the divorce, I had been steered into that direction, which was really the right thing to do. It was a very good friend who did that for me. It was the same friend who actually sort of took care of me when I left my first husband. She offered me freedom in her home without saying where I was or anything. So it was really,
it was like, it sounds like a safety issue.
It was very much a safety issue. Yeah. So, but through this program, I met Jerry, and seemed like a very nice man. He was very good. He communicated to everybody. He had a huge smile. Yeah. Huge smile. And everybody would say that, you know, you're just so much fun. And he'd say, yes, I'm always having fun. And it was sort of like, okay, this man's really different. but I basically had said to myself, no, I really don't think you need to have a man, because that's risky.
Okay.
So I thought, oh, okay, But then over a few years, and we were friends in groups, and it was over like almost 4 or 5 years. And at that point, I thought, he is really a nice man. I like this man.
Mm-hmm.
He had a very strong faith. He worked. He worked. Had a good job. And I've never seen him get upset or angry or annoyed about anything that had happened, even in groups. So I kind of thought, oh, wow. And I thought, well, I like him. And then I thought, okay, but the number one thing is, I chose a man who was not for me. So that always was in my mind. So my thought was, Lord, if you're going to bring me a husband, you're going to have to bring him to me on a platter, just like that. Because I can't make that move, as far as I wouldn't ask any man for coffee or anything like that.
You're paralyzed.
I was just not intending to do anything like that, because then I knew that I wasn't doing it. So at a certain point, and I realized, and I thought, Lord, I know I said this to you, but maybe can I change my mind a little bit? And then I thought, no, I'm going to keep going, and if he wants me to have this man, then he'll make it happen. And gradually over a period of time, and one day he said to me, I've got 2 tickets for the hockey. Would you like to go to the hockey? I was like, am I hearing things? I said, yeah. And I was kind of like so surprised. I'm like, okay, this seems different. So that was fine.
Your first date was a hockey game.
It was a hockey game, yes. He was a hockey fan, absolutely. And so was I, because my boys played hockey too. And so that was often our Saturday night was watching the hockey on TV. So that was something we really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of, surprised by this man, and surprised in many ways, who he was, and his manner, and his faith was always there. So then he, asked me out for dinner, and I'm like, okay, this is actually really nice, So, and I remember when we went for that dinner, and at one point near the end of our meal, I said, why did you wait so long to ask me out? Because I've known you for 5 years.
Right.
And he said, I just wanted to make sure that everything would be right.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, okay.
Yeah.
So now now it was fitting together.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me that had orchestrated this or had chosen this person or said anything. I thought, I can't do this. This has to be from the Lord, because then I know it will all be okay.
Right.
And that's how it came about.
So you married him, and how long were you together?
We were married, and it was almost just before our 2nd anniversary. But Jerry had been sick for 9 months during that time. So he was diagnosed with cancer. So it was sort of like, almost that bittersweet of the sense of, I just feel so fortunate to have him. Mm-hmm. So even when he was sick, I was so fortunate still to have him.
Wow.
Because who he was. And I learned so much from him, absolutely. But it was just so enjoyable to be with him. Even if it was just sitting on the couch, chatting. Could have been chatting about anything. Didn't really matter. Sometimes topics weren't necessarily important.
Right.
But the fact was, he was there. He was present.
Right.
And he was there. He was kind. He was very gentle. He was very loving.
So very opposite from what you had experienced prior.
100%.
Right. So
100%.
What did Jerry teach you? You say he taught you things.
Well, he taught me to actually trust myself, because of the previous years I hadn't trusted myself. I didn't believe that I could trust myself.
Okay.
I knew that he trusted me, so that to me was almost good enough for me. But he would say, you have to really trust yourself in this, and I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I didn't really think about it that way, but it was a lesson that I learned, and I've maintained that, to trust myself.
Wow. So he really brought that to you.
Absolutely.
Even in the short time that
Mm-hmm.
it feels like you were together.
Yeah.
He taught you just to have faith and to
Absolutely.
confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
So today, where is that confidence? What do you where do you see your life? Where do you see the shift?
The shift is now more in the aspect that I'm more able to help other people. I can, sit with people and listen to them and help them if they're going through separation or divorce. I understand where they've been, and I will always listen to what anyone has to say. And if I do share about myself and how difficult it was with my first husband, then they truly understand that I've been there.
Right.
I've been afraid. I've been upset many times. I've had uncertainty as to where was my life going. And yet I had a faith, and I knew that I was able to be doing something, and yet it didn't really come forth. I think my whole focus was on my boys and making sure they were okay,
Right.
and having them grow up and do the best I could for them.
Right.
So I devoted a lot of time into that.
Which is okay. That's your season, right?
yeah,
We're all in different seasons.
Absolutely. And I'm thankful that I was able to have that perspective, because I might have just not bothered,
Right.
because at times you feel that, what is the point? And yet it can't be like that. To me, they were a gift from God, and He gave them to me.
Right.
If He gave them to me, then I had an important role to play in their life.
Yeah.
No matter what that role was, and no matter what it is now, that was so important for me. So I always held on to that they would be okay. I wasn't sure what kind of things they might have to go through in order to be okay.
Yeah.
But fortunately enough,
That's part of the journey, right?
Exactly.
You raise them, and then you just have to really be trusting and
yep,
believe that they'll make good choices.
absolutely, and you let them go.
I like that, because a lot of times when we go through seasons, even as young moms or maybe dads, and we've got these young kids, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. But then I always think about the people that would love that life, and how really we are blessed to have them. And
Absolutely.
maybe for that time we can't do and venture out and do other things. But again, I think you're really confirming to me, like we live in seasons in our lives, right? Linda, how has hope impacted your life?
Well, I realized with that first marriage being so horrendous that, there had to be hope. And yet I met Jerry. And the amount of hope that I had for the future, I can remember Pastor Jerry saying to me, "You could be married 25 years. And I was like, that sounds good. Whereas, at some point you might say, oh, that might not be so good. I was wanting 25 years.
Yeah.
I couldn't get 25 years with Jerry. But I did have the hope of knowing that you can get through a separation. You can get through a divorce that seems like it's never, ever going to end. And yet you can have hope for the future, because there always is hope.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. It never leaves you. You're always hoping there'll be something better, or hoping that you can help others. And that is so important, because I don't need to hope for myself anymore. I just know that it's there.
Right.
I don't have to
You
think
believe
about
in it.
I absolutely believe in
Yeah.
it, because it truly has happened.
Yeah. So how have you sort of impacted other people? Because I know that you are running a group right now. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And it sounds like you're bringing hope to other people that might have had some similar experience to what you have gone through.
Yeah, I run the divorce care group.
Okay.
I run that group, and
It's not just Soul people, though. It's people from
oh
all
no,
over,
from
right?
anywhere. It's just we house it there.
Right. Okay.
But yes, from anywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their faith is, what their background is. It's not relevant. The relevancy is they're dealing with a separation or a divorce.
Right.
And when they come in, they're often at a point where they don't have any hope.
Right.
Sometimes they don't have anything, they're not even sure where they're going to get any money, how they're going to survive. They're going to have to, get rid of their house, their home. Some of them have children, some don't, but they struggle because they're now at an age where they didn't have children and they feel they've lost all those years. So it goes in different directions, but the whole thing is they need to have hope in order to keep going forward. If not, you'll be going in reverse.
Is that the objective of that group?
Yeah, we have to get them through that. So in order for them to be able to share where they're at, how they feel about things, once they do that, they realize that it's safe to do that and it's okay to do that. Because if you don't, you're never going to leave the past.
I love that you just said safety. Your group offers safety to people, and I think so many times, especially when you go through a difficult situation, you don't feel safe. And to find a group like that of people that maybe have their own experiences that are very similar, I would definitely encourage our guests, and if anybody's kind of going through some of some of the things that you've shared with us tonight, maybe you can relate to that. I would really encourage you to call us, and there'll be a number at the bottom of the screen, and give us a call. And even if you want to get in contact with Linda, to be a part of a group like that, just having other people that have similar experiences that maybe can offer you hope in the midst of what you're going through. I would just really highly encourage you to do that, and just to pick up that phone, text that number, whatever that may be, whatever's easiest for you. Linda, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate you sharing your story, and it's not been an easy journey, but you know what? I know for me, you've really encouraged me in knowing that our story never ends. It continues on. And when it's hope-filled, it can be the most incredible experience to live life, So thanks for joining us tonight.